Hi guys, today we are going to go over our goal setting for 2020. You will all receive an individual email that will contain a couple of files. They will be Excel files. The main one that you will be looking at will be, it will be stated as your name, 2020 goals. It will look exactly like this. This happens to be the one that I'm actually working on because I myself also have to complete one. I don't want you guys to be overwhelmed by this. It may look a little bit daunting because there is a ton of data that it looks like you will have to complete. And so just know that it might be a little time consuming, but I promise that it is not difficult. So to get started, we will take a look at all the sections within this document. Your username is going to be here. Those are always going to be your initials, departments, lubricants. Really is just kind of like lubricants, fuel, and as well as chemicals and filters. So anyway, that's what all this document has. So like I said, try not to be overwhelmed. It may take us a bit of time, but I will be here with you for every step, including if you need additional help. I plan on doing a lot of one-on-one help. This is just a secondary resource for you guys. So in this document, there are actually only a few places that you will be entering data. One of these places will be here in this industry section. One thing that's very important to note is that everything that we have already within iRely and CRM must be spelled, and punctuation, including spacing, must be exact. To help you guys with that, at the bottom of this document, there is a whole list of industry segments that you can add. So the only other places that you will be adding data is so firstly here in the industry segment, for some accounts, for targeted accounts that you will have for share of wallet, we can also add account numbers. These we can call them account numbers or account codes. They are the 6 letter codes that we use to for each customer. I will go through that with you. Now, the important part to note on the rest of this document is that the only place where you will be actually adding data is going to be in these columns right here, in anything that's blue. The yellow columns, this blue column, that blue column, and lastly, this blue column. So you have 3 blue columns. Everything else, the yellow and the green columns, actually have formulas in them that will help calculate everything else out for you. So I guess let's jump right in. As you'll see, I'm looking at lubricants, Chevron, and down into the product segment of antifreeze. A total annual base number will be already calculated for each one of you. This total annual base volume is based on the numbers that are within CRM. That annual base will, the way we calculated that was we took all the data from within CRM, divided it by 11 and multiplied by 12. So we'd get as best as possible a representation of what your base number will be for the previous year. The way that we will work this is, let's go ahead and go into our CRM. Most of you, when you log into CRM, you will most likely be in this section, sales and opportunities. That's the default for many of us. If you click onto workplace and dashboard, you will then want to use this drop-down menu here and find dashboard number 8, which is called My Goal Scorecard. Once you've clicked on My Goal Scorecard, you will then drive down into units. And this is where we are going to focus on. We are going to be focusing not on the gross profit. Instead, we're going to focus on the units. The reason we will focus on units versus gross profit is that there is an average margin associated with the data that's been collected over the last 11 months. And this is happens to be my average margin per gallon of this particular product. So if I come back here and I drill down from these units, so I do that simply by clicking on that blue. I'm going to go back into lubricants. I'm going to click on Chevron. And lastly, I will click on antifreeze. So here we can see that a bulk of my actual sales for this last year came from CenturyLink, Los Alamos County, and Dutton Diesel Repair. You are more than welcome to put as many industry segments as you would like. I will tell you that keeping them to 2, 3, 4 at most is going to be the easiest for you guys. You can see that here it'll clearly tell me which industry segments those are. So that's service, government, and auto and truck repair. I'm going to stick with 3 to sometimes 2 industry segments for sake of ease. So now that I know what my top 3 industry segments are, I'm going to come back to my Excel spreadsheet, and I know I have to figure out what my industry segments are. And like I said, it is important to note that everything that we have in here, it must be exactly spelled exactly the same way that we have it in our CRM in order to not get errors when we're uploading. So I'm going to go ahead and copy those 3 industry segments. So I'm going to copy those, come back up here. Excuse me. Okay, so I've just pasted them. One thing to note, as in all Excel spreadsheets, is once you have data in here initially, things will begin to auto-populate for you. So for instance, as I started typing services again, it's going to start auto-populating once I've used that particular industry. So that's just a note to you guys. So I've chosen these 3 segments as what I'm going to use to divide my base number. And the way that you're going to do that is you will say that throughout this last year, my total base number, which was 6,318, I'm going to divide that by 3, is 2,106. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2106, 2106, 2106. Okay, so that's the easy part of figuring out your goals. So now you have this number here, which if you hover right over here, this is going to give you it's going to sum it for you. That is my total base number. So now what I want to figure out is, as I continue to scroll to the right here, in the auto and truck repair industry, do I realistically think that I have some customers that potentially buy, they're already buying product from me in another segment, let's say passenger car motor oil or heavy duty motor oil, but they've never actually bought coolant from me? Is there realistically, can I say that I'd still like to gain a little bit of volume in there? Sure. So let's say for this segment, I think I can do an additional drum. So I'm going to type in 55 gallons there. In the government industry segment, I think I could probably sell a couple drums. Why not? To current customers who don't already purchase coolant from me. In the services industry, I don't know. Maybe I don't have as many, and it is okay to put 1 in here. One thing to note is that in the share of wallet column, if there is data in the industry or in the account number, share of wallet cannot be left blank. It can also not be 0. It has to be at least 1. So you can put 1 here, indicating that really I don't think that there's any customers in the services industry that aren't already buying coolant from me. Or, you can also say, hey, maybe I can do 6 gallons. As I continue to scroll through here, I'm still in that services section. Is there anything that I currently have in my pipeline or any prospects that I'm potentially working on for the next year that are going to be in that services industry segment that I'd like to acquire new gallons in? If that's the case, this is where you're going to start thinking about where I want to acquire new gallons for the upcoming year. let's say that for services, I think I could realistically, I have one customer in my pipeline currently, and potentially, there's some more out there that I'd like to go after in the new year. So if I want to put that brand new accounts, I'd like to gain 100 new gallons of coolant, then that's where I'd put that. In the government section, perhaps I don't have any, that maybe there's no more government business for me to go after. You can leave that blank or put a 0 there if you really think that that's what's going to happen in the upcoming year. In the auto repair and truck industry, maybe you have plans for it, it's in your pipeline, or it's something that you want to go after in the upcoming year. If that's the case, you're going to put your estimated gallons that you think that are going to be brand new accounts in the upcoming year. Okay, so easy enough, right? There's not a whole heck of a lot other than that you need to do. But let's say that I don't have very much in the construction industry, but that's an industry that I'd like to target in the upcoming year. But they currently don't buy a ton from me in this coolant antifreeze department. But let's say I want to go ahead and move forward with it. I'm going to type in construction, and I'm not going to add anything to my base, but remember, like I told you, even if I don't have anyone in construction that I'm currently going to attempt a share of wallet in, you still want to put a 1 in there, because you cannot leave share of wallet blank when industry, you have something in the industry section. But instead, I'm going to come over here. I think that realistically, I can sell another 2 drums in that industry segment. So I'm going to put that data there. Okay, now the last part that we will do per segment is going to be targeted customer accounts. Each of you will receive a list of your current customers. So for me, this is my current list of customers. And if I take a look at this list, it's going to give me my product codes, not my product codes, excuse me, these are my customer codes. For instance, I happen to know that this particular customer does not buy any coolant from me. So I'm actually just going to copy that data there, come back here, and under account code, I'm going to put that customer right there, because I think that I would like to target that customer in the upcoming year for additional share of wallet opportunity. So I've put their account number there, and the only section that you will now fill out is share of wallet, because that's a targeted account for the upcoming year. And I think that I can realistically sell this customer 2 drums of coolant throughout the year. So it's not very much. I like to think about it in terms of drums, or you can also think about it in terms of bulk, or even down to cases. It depends on each customer and what you feel comfortable with your abilities to sell in the upcoming year. So please note that when you are doing a targeted account, there is no need for you to put anything in this industry section. For each one of these sections, these product segments, you should try and target at least 1, but 2 or 3 potentially accounts for share of wallet growth. If I come back into my current customer base, I happen to know that this trucking company here does not buy any coolant from me, but I'd like to sell them some. So I'm going to take their account code again. I'm going to pop it in right there. So now I have it there. And this is a small trucking fleet, and honestly, even if he just uses me for top-offs. So let's say I'd like to sell him 21 gallons of oil. So there's a few cases of oil. And now that particular segment is done. So do not feel compelled that you need to fill up every single section. That's not what we're asking. Those are just there if you feel that you would like to fill them all out. That's completely up to you. So now what you have is you can take a look at what your base number was. So again, there's a reminder, 6,318. So now my new goal in this particular segment for the upcoming year is 7,031 gallons. So you're going to want to really reflect on this at the end of when, once you turn this sheet back into myself, I will go through all your data and make sure that, hey, are your goals realistic by a percent volume growth, right? A lot of you guys are going to be depending on your location. Some of you in a saturated market might be at something like a 3% growth, and some of you might be at exponential growth, right? Like a 10 or 12, 16% growth rate over this last year, especially those of you who are brand new to the company, because I know the mindset is going to be toward growth. And that's where you guys are going to excel the most at. And so everyone is going to be different based on what their current base is. And I will work through all this with all of you guys on an individual basis. So when you guys get this, you guys will get 3 things from me. You will get a copy of your individual goal sheet. You will also get a copy of your entire customer list so that you have these customer codes available to you. And lastly, you will also get an additional step-by-step guide that kind of runs you through how to do this if you like to follow that better. As always, I am here and available. I'm sure I will do lots of one-on-ones with all of you. I do suggest that once you get started with this, honestly, I suggest that you only go through a few sections. Let's say you go through Chevron antifreeze, Chevron gear oil. A lot of you are not going to have anything in the aviation. If you have the number 1 by any of your data, you can simply leave it as is, because the reality is that the reason why there's a 1 in there is because there is no volume. There are going to be segments that we simply don't sell product of that particular segment in certain areas. So I would say go through antifreeze, go through gear oils and grease. And I would stop there, give me a ring, and let's make sure and walk through to make sure that you're doing it correctly, because I wouldn't want you to go through this entire list. As you can see, there's quite a few products, because we go through Chevron, we go through chemicals, we go through all the P66, which we call Conoco here. We go through each line, and I wouldn't want you to go through this and think to yourself that you have it right and it not be the case. There is a couple other things I want to mention to you. As you will notice, hydraulic is spelled wrong. Somebody spelled it wrong way back when, and if we change it now, it will corrupt all the data. So just leave hydraulic oil spelled incorrectly. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. Somebody did that. I'm not sure who, but that's just the way that is. The last thing I want to remind you of is your industry segments. Feel free to Control-C to copy those and paste them wherever it is you want to paste them up above, because if you do get any of these misspelled or spacing incorrect or something funny like that, the data will be pushed back to us when we try and upload this for the upcoming year. As always, feel free to reach out, and I look forward to chatting with you guys. And so thanks for this, and maybe we'll do more of these recordings. Thanks, guys.